Are we on the?
Yeah, sorry, we're not Facebook though, right?
We're gonna do Facebook
Oh,
for
for
the
the
first
meeting.
part of the meeting.
Got it. Thanks,
And
public
then
hearing.
we'll go into,
All right.
the work session shortly.
Good evening, everybody. We'd like to welcome everybody to the special meeting of the Holbrook City Council for April 22nd, 2026 at 6 p.m. Call to order. Roll call. Everybody's in attendance except for Councilwoman Pacheco, who is excused. Item number 3. We have a proclamation to read. I'm going to go ahead and read it, and then I'm going to explain it. Please. Everybody like... So, City of Holbrook, Arizona Proclamation, Jules Marcoux Day. Marcoux Day. My French friends are gonna be mad at me. April 20th, 2026. Whereas Jules Marcoux was a pioneering geologist whose work significantly advanced the understanding of North American geology. And whereas Marcoux traveled extensively across the United States in the mid-1800s, contributing to early geological surveys and publishing one of the first geological maps of the United States, helping to shape scientific understanding of the continent's natural history. Whereas his work along the 35th parallel during the Pacific Railroad surveys brought early scientific attention to the landscapes of the American Southwest, including areas that would later become northern Arizona. Whereas the region surrounding Holbrook, including the area near the Petrified Forest and the Painted Desert, became part of early geological exploration that elevated its importance as a site of national scientific and natural significance. And whereas Marcoux Mesa, a prominent geological feature in the Holbrook area, was named in honor of Jules Marcoux, reflecting his lasting impact on the scientific exploration and understanding of northern Arizona's unique landscapes. Whereas his contributions helped lay the foundation for future geological research, conservation efforts, and appreciation of the natural wonders that define the Holbrook area today. And whereas recognizing individuals who contributed to the scientific, cultural, and historical understanding of our region enriches community identity and honors the legacy of discovery and education. Now therefore I, Kathleen Smith, Mayor of the City of Holbrook, Arizona, do hereby proclaim April 20th, 2026 as Jules Marcoux Day, in the City of Holbrook, and encourage all residents to recognize and celebrate the scientific contributions and lasting impacts of Jules Marcoux on our understanding of the natural history of northern Arizona. Thank you. I was going to say so. All right, who's Jules Marcoux? So, ask. I'm glad you did share it with yourself. So, actually, this Marcoux Plateau Mesa is actually on Bill Jeffers' property. And a year and a half ago, I don't know if you guys remember, we had a French boarding school come over to celebrate the findings of Jules Marcoux. And so he is from a place called Salines, France. And when they came a year and a half ago, they brought this picture. This is from the town that they were in. So,
Doesn't look like Little Jeffers Ranch.
no, not at all. Those poor little French girls are like, welcome to Arizona. And this is where they're from, right? So, came from their Parisian boarding school that I swear looked just like Hogwarts. So, I was fortunate to go visit them in their school, which was really nice. So, we've been working with their geologists. And we wanted to continue to support their efforts in trying to bring recognition. So what they're trying to do in France is trying to make sure they don't lose that connection to their French geologists here in the Holbrook region. And so this was a way for us to say, yes, we do appreciate Jules Marcoux and his findings. Part of his finding, he was one of the first discoverers of the Petrified Forest. And so when they came to visit a year and a half ago, they literally went to Harvard for 3 days, because that's where he did a lot of his scientific research there, and then he came to Holbrook. So those girls went to Harvard to Holbrook and went home.
So all the high places.
All the high places. I mean, the best of America, Harvard and Holbrook, and went home. And they had a great time. So this is our way to honor their efforts over there, trying to keep his memory alive. And so the reason why April 20th is his birthday. So we're like 2 days late, but we'd like to celebrate him. And so we will send this proclamation over to our French friends, and maybe someday we could be able to have a sister city with him. I was able to meet their mayor over there, and they were open to that idea. And so that is why we're celebrating Jules Marcoux Day. I cannot say his last name, and I am sorry, my French friends. I should know better, so anyway. They're gonna cut me off. So
She don't know.
I don't know. So, all right, thank you. All right, moving on to item number 3, ordinance 26-01, first reading. As a reminder, this is the ordinance that we tabled last week. There was just some clarification we needed to get on the policies to make sure we were going off the most up-to-date policies on this. So, as a reminder, I'll go ahead and read the background and discussion. I really don't need my glasses. I don't know if you put them on. So, over the past several months, the Planning and Zoning Commission has held multiple public meetings to review and discuss potential amendments to the C1 Neighborhood Commercial Zoning District. These discussions have focused on clarifying appropriate land uses, ensuring compatibility with surrounding residential areas, and updating development standards within the district. In addition, the Commission has evaluated the growing trend of hotels or motels converting to multifamily dwellings and has identified the need for specific regulations to address health, safety, infrastructure, capacity, and neighborhood compatibility concerns associated with such conversions. The proposed ordinance amendments are intended to establish clear requirements and standards for these conversions while supporting responsible redevelopment and housing opportunities. So, if you go through here, we've got the ordinance, and I'll go ahead and read it so I don't forget it. Ordinance number 26-01, an ordinance of the Council of the City of Holbrook, Arizona, amending the Code of Holbrook, Arizona, Chapter 6, Planning and Zoning, Article 6-1 Zoning Ordinance, declaring the City of Holbrook City Code amendments to Chapter 6, Planning and Zoning, Article 6-1 Zoning, Ordinance May 13, 2026. A public record, adopting the City of Holbrook City Code amendments to Chapter 6, Planning and Zoning, Article 6-1 Zoning, Ordinance May 13, 2026 by reference, providing for severability, providing for penalties, and establishing an effective date. Again, by request, I will read the whole thing. Again, as a reminder, tonight's a good time to ask questions about it, things like this. It's a first reading, so we will not vote on it until the May 13th. So if there's any other questions you have coming up in the next few weeks, now is the time to really start thinking about it. So if you go through here, we do have what's the typical black print is the original. And anything in red are the suggested amendments. So I hope you guys had a chance to go through these. So, I know there was a concern at one time. We do have a lot of businesses in town that sometimes we have residential residences just popping up in commercial buildings, and that was a concern. So that was addressed a few years ago, I think about a year and a half, 2 years ago. There was an amendment done, and that was on under conditional use, under C, number 17, I believe it was. The original 17, so you have to look at the crossed out 17, so it looks like 13 now, under conditional use. Read one more time. And then, should be number 13. Oh, these are conditional use. Okay, here's the conditional use under C. So one more time. Okay. So at the time, as a council, and I think many of us were on at the time, 17 said residential, we were allowing residential units above commercial buildings as a potential solution, because we know there's also a housing issue, right? And so, so that is still on there. Our biggest ones here, so we'll look through here. We do have these special conditional use. This is the big one, item number D on here. Apartment/extended stays. So the property, specifically existing hotels and motels converted to multifamily dwellings, must meet the requirements listed in City Code Section J, which includes the parking setbacks, facade size, etc. So if you look at number J, that's a lot of your information on the conversion of hotel or motels. So a lot of hotels and motels want to say, hey, we want to become an apartment, but what they're doing is they're saying, oh, we've got a hotel room, we're just going to call it an apartment. But the problem is it is not a quality of life. So they're having to brush their teeth and do dishes and everything and all the same bathroom thing. Their proposal is, okay, if you want to actually convert, then you actually have to come up to your standard for a decent standard of living for the residents that live there. So, for example, one says a studio apartment shall have a total floor area of at least 400 square feet. Most hotel rooms are like 200, 250 square feet. It says a one-bedroom unit shall have a total floor area of at least 450 square feet, and a two-bedroom unit shall have a total floor area of at least 500 square feet. And just for example, a small bedroom in a residential home is a 10 by 10, which is 100 square feet. Kind of give you an idea of what that looks like.
Mayor, just to hold up on real quick, there was some talk about increasing that to 550. We presented to you tonight what P&Z had already worked through, which is the 500. So if there's some indication that the council would like to increase that to 550, we could put that in the final ordinance. I don't think that's a major change to where that would hold this up, but I wanted you guys to.
Thank you, I appreciate that. Yes, because as we said, if we're saying it's gonna be a second bedroom, you're only saying 50 square feet more. And so it's like if 500 square feet or 450s are minimum for a one bedroom, then an extra bedroom at a 10 by 10 bedroom should be 100 square feet. So I agree with that change. That number 3 should be 550 square feet. 4, each dwelling unit shall have a kitchen or a studio, a kitchen area that includes all of the following. A, range or separate wall oven and stove, in addition to any microwave. B, a kitchen sink with hot and cold water separate from any washroom sink. C, a refrigerator with a freezer with separate electric circuit. D, a separate storage cabinet for food and food preparation equipment with at least 12 cubic feet of storage area. E, a permanent food preparation counter at least 5 square feet. F, a facility with 16 or more dwelling units shall have a 24-hour on-site manager. A facility smaller than 16 dwelling units shall have a local off-site manager. G, the facility shall comply with all other requirements applicable to a new multifamily dwelling, including density, parking, amenities, landscaping, open space, and architectural features, except in an existing building that does not meet setbacks or minimum lot size may remain. So, that was my other concern too.
One more comment,
Okay.
that the square feet, the 5 square feet should probably be linear feet.
On E, because 5 square feet is nothing. Like,
So it'd be a 5-foot countertop instead of a 2.5 by 2.5, you know, so that does change quite a bit.
5 foot. So there's a lot to look through here. I kind of jumped over to that conversion of hotels, because that is one of the biggest elements changing on there. But I don't want to dismiss the beginning of this ordinance and the neighborhood commercial zone. There are some things that were taken off of the principal permitted use and moved over to just a, have to go through a conditional use permit, which the difference is, if it's a principal permitted use, that means they don't have to get special permission to do it. If it's already permitted here, it means somebody could just go buy that place and convert it to whatever fits under that permitted use. If it's a conditional use entity that wants to come there, they have to go through P&Z, make sure they kind of fit the requirements for permitted use, and then they take that to council. So that's the difference. Principal permitted use does not have to come to council or P&Z, conditional use does, and that's where we make the final decision here.
So how would this affect somebody who's already in a motel and housing people? How would that affect them?
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question, right? So, we do have a lot of people living in motels right now, and there is a need. But in the end, we've got to follow the law regardless. So right now, we know we have a lot of people breaking the law. So how does that affect them? I don't know.
And then there's also the question, somebody's paying $700-800 to live in a motel, and then the motel owner has this to do, so now the rate goes to $1,500. He doesn't pay it because his social security hasn't gone up. He goes and lives in the riverbed, in the Tamaracks. So you have to consider that. We have a substantial population in the summer that already lives in the riverbed. We just have to make sure there's somewhere for them to go. I mean, because people's social security and SSI isn't going up. You know, I would be aware of somebody that could afford a $1,000 trailer the other day that worked for our city. You know, unless wages go up, if $1,000 two-bedroom trailer $1,000, and these motel rooms are $899, if everybody is forced to make it better, then where do these people go?
Problem is, they're being used by not necessarily low-income housing right now. There's a chunk of them being utilized by workers. But what kind of quality of life are they? Come to Holbrook and we're gonna let, and they're slumlords. If you've gone to a lot of these apartments, they are slumlords. It's like, so when is Holbrook finally gonna say, enough is enough of this subpar quality of life? It's like, yeah, we will take you guys because it's cheap. It's like, I think there's a way we can, I'm not sure how governments can work on, price gouging and things like that.
But I agree with you, the prices are elevated, unusually high because of all the people that are working for the solar plants in different
And
places.
when we first went down this road, we were kind of thinking of just stopping it all completely, stopping the slumlords. And then we started digging into other city codes that are, dealing with the same kind of issues, and they're kind of going this way. So that's why we started leaning this way with P and Z and city recommendations. At least this kind of gives us some control of what it's gonna look like, some control of what the facade will look like, control of what the insides, and hopefully, down the road, we can start converting some of these slumlord places into some decently standard quality living. Now, what the prices look like, I don't know if there's so much that the city can control that, but we may just have to address that when and if it happens, and maybe there might be something that we can do later down the road.
Well, not only that, right now, you're not getting lodger's tax out of a lot of these either.
Right,
So I mean, no, you're not getting it.
yeah, no, yeah.
Will the lodger's tax go out when people stay longer than, if they're renting month to month? Is the lodger's tax taken out of that?
No.
That's when the lodges changed a year ago,
Right.
where that's no longer lodger's tax. And unfortunately, when they collect the tax, they're collecting the tax on the business, not the location. So anybody could come in and really buy a hotel and turn it into, as it stands now, and just turn it into apartments, and we don't have anything.
And the truth is, I do not feel sorry at all for the finances of these guys. They are getting $1,000 for a studio apartment. It's not even a studio, like I said, there's no kitchenette, there's no quality of life, there's no way for them to cook. They're cooking illegally on hot plates, things like that. Our electrical, they're not up to date on most of these motels. And so they're charging $1,000 for 250 square feet, where somebody else is charging $1,500 a month for a house, 1,500 square feet. I mean, they're getting $4 a square foot versus $1 on anybody else for housing. It's like they're making a ton of money
Just
off being
because the rent
slumlords.
goes up doesn't mean the quality of the rent.
Exactly.
So
Basically.
the motels that are already in service, are they gonna be looked at to make sure that they're in compliance with
Yeah,
this?
we'll have to
And
address
so
it.
what happens if they don't get into compliance?
Well, that's where
Are you gonna?
Then they
is it
say a
gonna
motel,
fall
then
up
not
and
an
they say-
apartment. Is
Well,
that
that's
right?
where we'll have to start getting the attorneys involved and start taking them to court.
I mean, cause we have one that doesn't even have heating and cooling for these people.
Right.
And it's a shame that we let it get that bad, and now all of a
Well,
sudden we.
the problem, they've actually shut people down like that, and property owners will not kick people out because they're still willing to pay for a roof over their head with no water, no electricity, even though you have a cease and desist.
Right, and who's gonna make sure that this is enforced? I mean, who's gonna stay on top of
That's
this?
code
Building
enforcement.
department and
That's
code
code enforcement.
enforcement.
So do you give them a
Harriet and
little,
Richard.
a letter, and then they do a little bit, so then you start all over? You're gonna, I mean, we've gotta follow through with what we could.
Well, we do
Or is
follow
it
through,
like
but
they
there
say-
is a process. I mean, we can't just, because of the landlord
Right, I
tenant,
know
that
that,
we can't
but-
just kick people out, so. There is a process we gotta go through. We are to some of those steps where we're gonna have to start spending money on attorney fees to follow these steps. So this whole last year or two, we haven't really done that. So that's our next step in this long scheme of things, is to start holding these people accountable.
And that's what we, I mean, if we're gonna start, we need to follow through.
Yeah.
is-
And that's gonna cost us money, so that's where we gotta start.
We set aside
thinking
money in the
about it.
budget for this, if you remember the last budget, so there's money there. So, sorry, Mike, sorry, go ahead.
Well, and I do agree with what Mike is saying, because the reality of Arizona, not Holbrook, but Arizona, is we have an epidemic with housing. It's a nation, but Arizona is really bad. I just read an article that we're like the 7th worst in the nation as far as our housing is concerned. So there is a realistic concern that dwellings are just needed in general. I really do think that it could or should be a goal that we work with them as much as we can. And I know that that's probably where you guys are going, but we can implement like stages, rollout practices, notices. And that's what I think he's talking about, what plan that would look like. That would have to be for you guys to propose to us approve it maybe. Where it's this many days, you were notified, you have this long to get your property where it needs to be. Maybe if they lack funding or resources, we can make exceptions, allow them the time to get their buildings like to par.
For example, we did that 2 years ago with America's Best Value, and we gave them a 4-year timeline. Yeah, I was shooting for
Yeah,
3, I got
1 year left.
overrode, 4 years, and we're about 3 years into it,
We
right?
have 1 year left,
How much have they done in that?
nothing. And I
So-
send them letters every year saying.
They got 1 more year to
whenever
get it
your
up, but,
time's coming.
so that thing, are you guys gonna be proposing a timeline with this?
Well, you know, it depends, I mean, there are some, like we've already had the advantage of doing, and we told them we can't issue a certificate of occupancy until they take care of these issues. You know, we start out with 30 days, they need more time, get into 60. Now, we're gonna be inspecting it, that all the work has been taken care of. So, I mean, yeah, it's got, you know, depending on what it is, will determine how much time they need. You know, whether it's just repairs or whether it's, you know, major issues, like some of these, like you said, do not have heating, do not have cooling. You know, some of them I've been in have half electricity, and we know that the Sahara burnt down again, you know.
Were there occupants in there? I mean,
Or is it supposed to be?
Was there legal
No, there's not
occupancy?
no, there weren't any occupants, supposedly it was kids that did it, but
okay.
all the doors are open, all the windows broken. We just went out there yesterday, had the guys tape the whole building off at this point until we decide how to proceed, but it's gonna depend. For those people, I've gotten several calls, several interest in, developers wanting to buy some of these old motels that are vacant and want to turn them into apartments. And we've talked about, you know, these are gonna be the requirement, and they're all for it. They have no qualms about bringing them up to that. You know, but I
Well,
think
you get a
it's,
better quality tenant in there too.
but it's an opportunity, once we do this, to start hitting some of those other places that have illegally turned into apartments that are substandard.
But we need to be consistent.
Oh,
I mean, you don't
absolutely.
say, this one's gonna have to do this and this one
No.
over here doesn't. I mean,
No.
we have to be consistent across the board. with
100%.
all of them.
They're gonna have to, you know, do like, just like a regular building permit, they're gonna have to submit plans, what their facades are, their landscaping, you know, everything. You know, to make sure that they're being brought up and it's gonna assimilate in with the downtown area.
Okay, so,
Karina, oh, go ahead.
sorry, did you have some?
No, go ahead.
So like, somebody buys a business, if it has housing on top, then it can be a business on the bottom and they can live on the top.
Yes.
But if it does not, they can't have the front a business and the back they can live in? Or is that,
Currently, as the code stands now, that is correct, they
Right.
shouldn't be living there.
they should not?
No.
So that code didn't change?
Not yet.
Not yet.
We have not discussed that through P and Z or.
Kind of increments, you know, and take care of the important things that are really affecting the community. You
That's,
know.
those discussions with P and Z are coming.
That discussion along with, we talked about, we know there's a housing shortage. And part of it is our zoning in downtown, and a lot of places don't allow for multifamily housing. So we've got quite a few investors that wanna do some duplexes, triplexes, things like that. But there's no, it'd be spot zoning. So P and Z's been working on it for about a year, so they should be bringing that to us soon as well. So that'll start alleviating some of the workforce housing when we start offering some builders, the opportunity to actually build multifamily units. Because it's been a proven fact that the more zoning you have multifamily, the more, growth a community sees, so. Councilwoman Packard, do you have a comment?
I'm just kind of thinking about, there's a different quality of life we want people to adopt, but the people haven't wanted it. There's some people that like subpar living conditions. There's always gonna be that niche, and we can't, do you guys follow what I'm saying? And we can't push them out.
But it's a it's affecting our downtown. Do you not agree with that?
I agree with that, but where are they gonna go? Are we gonna say we don't have a place for you?
We offer them admission is what we've been doing. They can go to the Bread of Life mission and stay there
And you think that'll house all the people?
No, it won't.
No.
Well, not everybody in the community, but I don't think it's all gonna happen
Well,
there.
yeah.
let me tell you my take on this. You say it's not hard, but I think, because I've worked with community, I think that's all they deserve. Because they've been beaten down so much in life that they're like, this is all I deserve is a crappy place. And it's like, no, I feel like we need to show our citizens, you deserve a good standard.
Right, there are
things like that.
Everybody deserves that, but there's some people that do not want to live that way.
But
It's
that's
like
that's
the person
our-
that has a,
but that should
the
be-
person that has a dirty house.
But that's not our buildings, we're talking about the landlords, not the tenants.
Right.
We're holding the landlords accountable for a decent standard.
Right, so we're gonna push prices up, and then people that can't afford, where are they gonna go?
Who says it's gonna push prices up? They're
don't-
gonna price themselves out of the market. They're already charging top dollar.
We can't control that
$1,100.
anyway.
Yeah, we have no control of that, but
Yeah.
I can't, as a city, can we as a city council say, you know what, on the chance that they're not gonna do it, we're gonna allow substandard and slumlords to still take advantage of everybody.
Right,
It's
they
like-
shouldn't be taking advantage, but
But they
we
do.
have people that cannot afford anything better.
Then
But
we
that's
need,
not our problem.
Then we start working,
I
so,
guess it's not our problem.
we need to
No,
entice
we're gonna blind eye to that.
developers to
that's
come
it right
in
there.
and do some subsidized housing. I mean,
Yeah,
that's what we
We
need,
need that.
but we have no control over that, you know.
And so you have one apartment that is, the Coronado is a HUD
Right.
place, right? And
Subsidized.
that's decent. Is there any others?
No.
Yeah.
Two.
Well, there's two of them that are Coronado and the Fort. It is. Yeah, those two are somewhat subsidized. But,
Then
you
we
know,
go
there is funding out there for developers to come in and do low-income tax credit housing, but, you know, and I've talked to several of them about it, but it's a lot of work,
It's
a lot of red
paperwork,
tape.
right?
They have to go through, you know, through
but
Department
as
of
a
Housing.
council, let's see if there's some type of way to incentivize them. For one, let's get the zoning right so they have the opportunity to come. That'll be our step one. So we open up a path for them to come. They will come, we have people looking, they know Holbrook is a hot spot for housing, and they will come. We've had quite a few different housing developers actually come to the area and start looking around because they know it's a hot spot. So we gotta do our part and make sure the zoning's correct for them to come. Councilwoman Ferguson,
And I think what will end up happening, I mean, we can't draw a crystal ball, but that they're probably just going to get so annoyed that they're going to sell. And somebody else will come in and hopefully do it. I've looked up the property owners through, because I'm nosy, and they don't live here. There's no investment to the community. These people are just making hand over fist on these. And I agree with everything you're saying, like, we have to do something, it's our responsibility to do it. I just think that it's important to keep in our minds that, like, this probably has to be kind of a slow entry into this whole thing, because we can't just have a bunch of people homeless, like, overnight, because maybe we can find grants that we can offer people to,
so,
accept properties through Arizona, HUD, maybe.
Well, what's happening now also is because these motels are doing this and jacking up the prices so high, it's affecting the landlords that have houses in these towns too, because what happens is you rent to two people and all of a sudden the next thing you know, there's 8 people
Yeah,
living in the
That's what
house.
they're doing.
Yeah.
And so you're constantly trying to chase them out, and then you're limited there on how fast you can move on that, so it's affecting them a lot.
Yeah.
So is there not any land, like empty land that the developers could buy?
I have personally been looking, and I've talked to Barb multiple times, I've different lots, and every single lot I've come to her with, it's gotta go through rezoning. And, or it's illegal zoning, because it'd be a spot zoning. And so I came here with 3 different parcels around Holbrook, in Holbrook, not on the outskirts or anything like that, in Holbrook, and every single one of them needs to be rezoned, because there'd be a spot zone. Even though across the street there's an apartment and things like that, there's so many illegal ones, but if it's not abutting it, literally having to touch another multifamily, it's called spot zoning, so that's why you need to work it.
Yeah, there's gonna be a lot of zoning recommendations coming to you guys pretty soon with that. That's why we hired Kevin as a planning and zoning administrator to work with P and Z. And this map that we gave you guys is what our current zones are that relate to our code books. And a lot of that don't add up to the multifamily housing. So that's one of those pieces that we're gonna be remodeling this whole idea of what the city of Holbrook's gonna look like as far as housing goes. And it's gonna start with a lot of this changing of the zoning maps. But in the meantime, we're trying to update our codes as much as possible, update those standards. And then, the next big piece is gonna be this zoning changes and allowing for multifamily housing. And then we can work on that side of it.
Well, the city has property, and they call us willing to build on our property, and have to build to build on our property.
But it's not zoned correctly right now, so that's the piece that we gotta work on first.
That's what we're saying, so let's get that, so we're, as a council, we're asking you guys to get that to us as soon as you guys can, it'd be great. I have a quick question, so we're talking here now with 6-1-14 C1 neighborhood commercial zone. So we're looking at this map, and that's a small little section, that's probably not even half the motels we're talking about. So this is only gonna affect those motels that are in C1 right here?
Correct.
So I don't think that's enough.
Yeah, I noticed that too, but I figured C2 would have similar changes.
We gotta start somewhere.
Yeah.
So we're starting here, but there has been already talks of, with P and Z, but we don't have, the updated maps or nothing like that. But we have been talking with P and Z, and again, they haven't finalized it, of maybe extending C1 down to 13, maybe extending our city down, because this is along Arizona. So this would be along Arizona, and a lot of this is vacant land right now. Well, it's zone C2, you can't put apartments or multifamily housing there, or housing. So if we did that, we might be able to expand the RC over, maybe include some multifamily housing. But as it stands now, none of that has been approved by P and Z, so that's why we can't really bring that to you guys and present that. But there has been discussions of that. And then all of this R7 and R10 up on Spurlock, we feel like there's a lot of opportunity up there to add multifamily housing, but that again hasn't been spoken about.
Wait, with R10, you can't do multifamily housing.
No, you can't. But like Mayor Smith is saying, there's apartments up there right now. They're illegally zoned. They were allowed in, and now we can't spot zone it and allow another one in unless we go to code and change some of that coding and start allowing some of that in. But how that looks like, and it's gonna change the way the city looks and how it builds out. So that's why everything's gotta go through P and Z, it's gotta go through a planning process, and how all that looks is gonna change a lot of stuff, so right now, that's all that this matters, is this C1.
So I'm putting you on the spot, so you may not have the answer.
And that's
Do you
what's
know
on
how
the
many
agenda.
motels are actually affected right now in that C1? Cause how far, I can't really see, it goes to Fifth Avenue, so that's not even like the apartment section Safeway,
Yeah, that's
You know, you-
before safe, right?
so.
I'd say 3.
So. I
Maybe
thought we
three.
were going
Yeah.
all the way.
Maybe 3. It's the Rosewood, it's the Holbrook.
And on the other side, you
Brad's
got
in.
Holbrook and
And I don't think I have any interest in changing that right now.
No, I think they're fine in a motel.
So right now, it's really affecting those two.
The whole Inn,
Right out
Rosewood.
first.
Well, and someone's interested in buying the Holbrook Inn on the other side of the street.
Right.
That one's vacant right now, and he's just waiting to see how this
So
plays
now it's
out.
time to go ahead, like you said,
So
start.
how much is the Holbrook Inn selling for? Or what's the?
I don't know what it's on.
I thought it would hold
I
it.
think it's like,
It doesn't matter, you.
like 200, I mean, it's not a lot.
It's like 250,000?
Yeah, something like that, or 275, but, you know, to make them apartments, they're, you're cutting them in half. There's not a lot of units in there to begin with. So you'd really be cutting it down to like maybe 4 or 5 units,
Okay.
depending on what they're planning to do, whether they're gonna demolish the whole thing or just combine them.
Right.
I mean, I would love it if they could be dwellings, right? That's what we need, like good dwellings for people who could
Really work
real,
around.
yes, exactly. Even if they are a little smaller, you know, but just something, no asbestos and running water and clean carpet and paint.
All we're saying right now, like, hey, these people, if you're in an apartment, they deserve a kitchenette,
Yes.
a small little kitchenette and stuff. Because my son for a time lived in a motel, and when he finally got a little spot where he did the kitchen, he's like, I felt like I could finally cook again and eat healthy food. Before you're just cooking ramen or whatever you do in a microwave. It's like, it's not healthy. Living in a place that you have just a microwave.
Costing them twice as much.
It is,
you know,
and it's
like
not-
that, and it should-
Good nutrition and mental health go hand in hand. And so he said he couldn't wait to get his kitchen back, you know, to start building a kitchen. I mean, these are, we live in a first world country. We should not be,
You know, one of my employees, her former job was working for HUD for the city of Winslow. Winslow has their own HUD department. I'm
Well-
curious how they're able to accomplish that because her job was to help people like with their housing, but I'm wondering if it's something that we could just look into to
but
see.
Barbara does a lot of
Well,
housing
you're
stuff.
talking about applying as a housing authority, is what you're talking about, is that we would have to see about applying as a housing authority and being able to, at that point, issue vouchers
Yeah.
to subsidize, but you're talking major work, you're talking, you know, increasing staffing and everything to do that. I don't know, because I think, I'm not sure if the state administers for Holbrook, but it is something I could find out if, you know, but it would be a big undertaking.
Yeah.
You know, just like our housing rehab.
You're up for it, right?
Yeah, so that you would be, they would go to you to get all that
We
paperwork
would
done.
become the housing authority, right, and what we would do, kinda like the same thing like housing rehab, you have to do income eligibility for everybody, and if
So
they
our
qualify.
challenge going forward, so just so we stay on topic here on agenda, so our clerks keep us in tap and check to make sure we're, yeah. No, we appreciate it, because that's what it needs to, because that's the problem with these agenda items, one leads to another, and then we see that domino effect, and so it's hard not to, so we give a little leeway sometimes on these agenda topics when we can circle back to our main topic, and so we just gotta be mindful of that. Circle back, yeah, so this item tonight, like I said, it is just a first reading, so we've done that. This is the time to ask the questions, if there's answers that we need that staff doesn't have right now, they can research it and get back to us throughout the week. So we're prepared to make a vote on it on May 13th. So if we look through it just quickly again, from right at the beginning, we got our principal use permits. You can go through and see what they've taken out of and changed a little bit. Compare it to section C where they got conditional uses, what they've taken out and what they've recommended. They did add anything. No, then just that special conditional use with extended stays. So there's a lot to it. It's gonna be a lot to digest. It's gonna be a lot more questions. We know that. So I don't mind still spending a little more time answering questions that I think everybody has, or does anybody want to just kind of process a little bit and still get with Mr. Sullivan throughout the week? And process it some more, so. Anybody on this side? You good for a minute? Okay. All right, well, we appreciate you being here tonight, Barbara. It's helpful. Kevin, good luck. So, but Barbara has been doing a fantastic job helping us with P&Z, and we appreciate your work with them as well. I know you stepped up and done kind of above and beyond your initial hire title. And going forward, so we appreciate that, so. All right, with that, we're gonna open the floor for an adjournment of this special meeting. We got a motion? And a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All right, we'll take a 5-minute recess, and then we will go into our work session. Thank you.
What I wanna know is, she's 15 years younger than we are, did she get